I was raised in church. I went because I was made to go. I did not enjoy church and didn't want to be there, but my mom kind of had a rule that if you didn't go to church, you couldn't go outside and play or couldn't go hang out with your friends. So that was why I went to church. That was kind of out of compulsion with that. I really looked at God as kind of a authority figure, I guess, or kind of a disciplinarian. And you had to do certain things and not do other things to make him happy. And as long as you followed that and gave that outward impression, you were a good Christian. The church that I grew up in, they would say these things, but then their lives didn't match up with it when I would see that. And so I became very cynical towards the church, any kind of organized religion, but specifically Christianity. I had friends who were philosophy majors in college, and they would come back and give me all these new ideas and things like that. And I really began to question, was the Bible true? Did God truly exist? And a lot of those cynical feelings that I had because of works-based religion, really all those things started to kind of work together to where I became an atheist. And I got to be a pretty bitter atheist.
I was really good at playing the part. I had everybody convinced. I even had myself convinced. I never, if you would have asked me, I would have said that I was a believer. It was never like I was consciously trying to trick everybody or trick myself, but I would serve in churches and all the things that I was supposed to do. And I would do them so that it would stop the doubts and the fears and the questions. I was really motivated by fear. It was if I did all these things right, then God would look at me and be pleased. But if I didn't, then I would make him mad or something like that.
I would openly debate anybody that was a believer, if it was somebody I went to school with or worked with. I took great joy in trying to destroy their idea of their faith and show them that the Bible was a bunch of fairy tales, that God didn't exist.
I did doubt people when they would talk about how the Word of God is alive, or this moment where they surrender their life to the Lord. I was are you sure? Did you really have that? Because that's not what my experience has been. I think that more than anything, it just led me to being a very fake person. Not necessarily fake in my relationship with other people, but my relationship with the Lord.
I had been out of church for almost 10 years, and my mom invited me to a revival. And so I said, okay, I'll go. It was you've sinned against the holy God. You're going to hell, And next thing I know, I'm standing up and I'm walking out into an aisle and crying like a baby, ask God to save me. And I think it was a lot of fear that all of a sudden, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want God to judge me. I started doing the things that I was supposed to do, and my confidence was not in what God had done for me, but it was in all these things that I was doing for God. And ironically, I kind of became the exact thing that had turned me off of God to begin with, because now I'm a rule follower and I'm judging other people because they don't follow all the rules that I follow, and I'm becoming really prideful. That continued for years, and we had a new pastor that came to that church, and he had an incredible heart for the gospel. And all of a sudden, I started to realize that I can't work my way to God. And I had kind of that aha moment, that realization that this is God's grace, and it's nothing but grace. And even though it might have been fear that had originally pushed me to God, now all of a sudden I was just standing in amazement at this grace that's been extended to me. It changed the whole paradigm and really changed the trajectory of my life forever.
One Sunday, we were at our church in Virginia. Our pastor was preaching on Luke 15, the parable of the prodigal son. I felt conviction like I had never felt before, and it was the Lord was saying, Lauren, that is you. You've always done the right thing. You've always been there, but you don't know me. But I still kind of pushed it aside a little bit, and I was serving on the welcome team, so I went to meet with my team, and we prayed, and everybody left to go to their posts, and I remember just sitting there, and I couldn't move, and my team leader came over, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I just lost it and started bawling and said, "Pam, I don't think I know Jesus." And she just started praying with me and talked through that, and I ended up surrendering my life to the Lord right then. I realized for the first time that I had been trying to do all of these things to earn God's favor, when really God had already done everything necessary to save me, and I didn't have to do those things anymore, that I could just surrender it all and trust Him, and that He would save me, and that it would be enough.
No matter how hard I work today, no matter how many good things that I do, God doesn't love me any more for those. Or if I do stumble, He doesn't love me any less. There was nothing special about me. There was nothing inherently good in me. Why He chose me. It's all about grace, and it's a beautiful thing.